Go, got the notification. All right, guys. Looks like we are live. I say guys and gals. I'm a guy person as far as what I say. The only reason why I even bring that up, I know this is weird. I watched Survivor, and it's the last season on the Paramount. Shout out to you know who you are. And he's always said, "Come on in, guys," as all the contestants come on in. This last season, he backed up and said, "You know what? I don't want it to sound any kind of wrong or anything. So, what do you guys think on that?" And they said, "Just say, come on in." So, it got myself thinking too. Sorry, I got a tattoo as well. My son got me a tattoo for my birthday. But anyways, so guys and gals, how are we doing today? Welcome to our next episode of Count the Bucket. We got a new co-host on here for us tonight with Matt, who was on last week with us, join in mid show with us, which was a surprise. Welcome back, Matt. How you been doing?
I've been doing good. Just doing some stuff during the week. Getting definitely excited for playoff basketball that is coming soon. I mean, we got
Yes.
playoffs starting. We got playoffs starting in 6 days, April 16th. We got the play-in on Tuesday, the 12th, and then we also got some play-ins on the 13th. It's going to be exciting. This is the last day of the regular season. Really getting all the seeding situated, and it's going to be exciting. The playoff matchups that we're going to be able to get.
Listen, I've got on my TV. If you see me kind of looking up here, I apologize. And for everyone on Colorcast who doesn't see me, I don't know why I'm telling you this now. But anyways, I'm watching the Suns and Kings game, and I'm watching it from the Valley, and it's actually that was a nice dunk by McGee over everyone off of a rebound. But that was actually the coolest thing I've ever seen. It's from the Phoenix front. I'm going to say front office point of view, I guess, if you will. You know how they'll do home court, or you can listen to whoever you want to, kind of. Well, they had their fans at the beach basically outside their arena or in sand dancing, and that was a cool atmosphere. A DJ and everything. That was really awesome. I think that would be sweet to attend. Sorry, I'm trying to watch the game and talk at the same time. The arena is called the Footprint Center, and they were saying they're outside the footprints. Obviously, they're all in barefoots in the sand, so that's super cool. What a cool atmosphere! And the Suns are awesome this year. Can we just agree on that? Like, are they? But what I'm worried about. Let me back up let me ask you this, Matt. I think the Suns are awesome, but I'm afraid that they may end up being a Utah team. Do you think that is a possibility once we hit the playoffs?
No, absolutely not. I think the Phoenix Suns, they're showing that they are the best team in the NBA. And what's crazy about it is once Chris Paul went down, this team never missed a beat.
They really didn't.
They really didn't. And what's going to be the main key is when you look at this Suns team, obviously we know what they did last year. They were very impressive. They made it to the NBA Finals. But they were up 2-0 last year in the finals, and they lost 4 straight. The thing was, how are they going to bounce back the following year? And they have bounced back with the point of vengeance. And the key now for the Suns is, what are you going to do for me when it gets to April, when it gets to May? How are you going to perform? And also, how's Chris Paul going to look? I mean, this is his 17th year, going on to either year 18. Like, how is his injury still holding up? He's going to be playing in the playoffs, and you look at the kind of matchup that they're going to have in round one, it is going to be one of those play-in teams. It's either going to be the Timberwolves, the Clippers, the Pelicans, or the Spurs. I think they got a good shot in that first round series, but it's going to be the following round when it gets to round 2. If you got to verse a team like Dallas or Utah or Denver in round 2, they're going to give you a good run give them a good run. So it's going to be interesting to see how they bounce back. And especially when you look at it, this is a record-setting season for the Suns. We're talking, this is one of their best seasons ever in their entire franchise. And they've had a lot of great years, whether it was Charles Barkley in the 90s when they went to the finals in 1993, or those early 2000s when they had Steve Nash, Amari Stoudemire, Sean Marion, Mike D'Antoni. So they've had a lot of great teams, but this one so far is excelling above expectations. And I think anything less for the Phoenix Suns on making back to the NBA Finals will be a failure. Like this Phoenix Suns team, this Phoenix Suns team, you have to make it to the NBA Finals. That's the bare minimum. You look at you're at 64 wins, and the next closest team is the Grizzlies, and they have 56. Right. Like you look at, I know the Western Conference is going to be tough, But when you win anywhere from 64 to 65 games, during a season, anything less than at least getting to the NBA Finals is going to be a failure. Now, obviously, you want to try to win it, but I think for the Suns standpoint, you have to make it back to the NBA Finals, and if you don't, you have to look at their season as a failure. And also, when is Chris Paul's next best chance to get a ring? I thought last year was his last best chance because he was up 2-0, but he blew it.
Mm-hmm.
But with how the Suns are going this year, this is most likely their next last chance, because when are you going to see a team like the Phoenix Suns win 65 games again, the following year? It's just very hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
So you look at this is very big championship or bust for the Phoenix Suns. Now, if they do make it to the NBA Finals, they got to verse some tough teams in the East. You got potentially Miami, you got Boston, you got Milwaukee, you got a lot of tough teams in the East. But you have to take care of business if you're the Suns. And you have to at least get it to the NBA Finals, because if you don't, like I mentioned earlier, it's going to be possibly the biggest disappointment of the season. Now, obviously not as big of a disappointment as my Los Angeles Lakers, but it'll be ranked second if the Suns don't make it to the NBA Finals this year.
See, I won't say, well, I think it'll be a disappointment, but I don't think it'll be a letdown, if that makes any sense whatsoever. I think the Suns, as tough as they've been this year, I mean, the best record in the NBA this season, I feel if they get to the Western Conference Finals, I think it'll be okay. I think it'll just be a letdown. Not like, okay, it was a complete failure, but just a letdown. I'm okay with that because to me, I mean, when it comes to playoff time, you don't know what's going on. And where it's the series, it does thin out the upsets, the miracles, or whatever kind of you want to say on those. So I do think that does help them as far as making it back to the finals. But there's a lot of good teams even in the West. I mean, Dallas has come on good. You mentioned Memphis already. And, I'm just trying to think a good matchup with them. You know what? Let me just go ahead and pull up the.
I was going to say you also got a possibility for Denver, mm-hmm. or Utah potentially, and if you want, I'll even help you out. I'll do one better. We'll show the current NBA standings as it is right now. This is the Western Conference current standings.
You beat me to it. I was about to do it right there.
1 through all the way down to 10.
Actually, if you go to NBA.com and go to, well, here you go. I got it pulled up here. Let me
share my go ahead.
Let's see here.
Go ahead. I don't even know why I share the screen. It's your show. You got the floor.
No. By all means, you're totally fine on that. It's just I usually always go to NBA.com, and I do like the way they do this. I was trying to pull it up. Let's see here. You said it's my show. Why would you even do that? But on their standings, it actually has the playoffs, and then as you scroll on down, it shows their conference standings and everything. Let me get rid of this pop-up. Can you see my screen good?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So as of right now in the Western Conference Finals, or in the Western Conference, after today, which there's still some games going on, which the Suns are dead set in 1, you've got the play-in games between the Pelicans and the San Antonio Spurs. Actually, are those set now?
Yes, the dates, both the teams and the dates are set.
Okay, so we are set on the Western.
We're also set on the Eastern Conference too. Like for the most part, everything is set. The only games that really have any sort of drastic measures is going to be between Golden State, New Orleans. Well, no, never mind. Not even Golden State and New Orleans because it doesn't matter about a Golden State.
Okay. So it looks like we're pretty much well set then, anyway.
Yeah. The only games that'll slightly matter is just the little games like Utah, Portland, Lakers, Nuggets, just because both of those teams are either have the same record or are separated by a game. Same thing between like the Warriors, Pelicans, Spurs, Mavericks. They're separated by a game, like more so than the other. Those are the only ones like of importance that matter.
So let's just go with this before we break it on and go into like, hey, who's winning this game? Who's winning this game? Phoenix is obviously the favorite on the West. Who would you say is your dark horse in the West?
I would say my so-called dark horse is going to be the Golden State Warriors.
Okay.
The reason why I got the Golden State Warriors is because Steph Curry is going to be ready by playoff time.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be ready to go there, and then on top of that, they're a third seed.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have a good solid matchup. If they fall to a 4 seed, I would be slightly worried there. But because of the matter that you are a third seed, I
Mm-hmm.
think they got a good matchup. Whether it's Utah or Denver, I think I like their chances there. And then on top of that, you got to think like for Memphis, if Memphis has to match up against the Clippers are going to give them a tough fight. Like that's going to
Mm-hmm.
be at least like 6 games. Like don't sleep on the Clippers. Like they're going to push the Grizzlies to 6 games. And you also got to look at it. I also believe if the Grizzlies and the Warriors were to match up in round 2, which is highly likely, I like the Warriors odds better just because they got more playoff experience. You got Klay Thompson playing great. You got Draymond Green. You basically got the big 3. You got Curry, you got Green, you got Thompson, a bunch of their other star players. You got Jordan Poole doing great things. And I think my dark horse is going to be the Golden State Warriors. And I've stated throughout, whether it's in like a basketball chats or even on some podcasts, I've stated that my Western Conference Finals, I believe, and I still believe to this day, it's going to be Suns and Warriors. I think that's going to be our Western Conference Finals that you'll see probably around like May, like early May. That's probably when you'll see that Western Conference Finals.
I mean, I'm totally happy with that. I'm fine with that. Memphis, a little inexperienced as far as playoffs, too much, especially compared to Golden State. But I'm going to say my dark horse was actually going to be Denver in the same matchup there. I'm going to say that because I think Golden State, to me personally, wouldn't really be much of a dark horse. Golden State is still a dynasty that's just been hurt in the past few years, in my eyes. That's, I mean, you've already named half the players there, Draymond and all those that know how to win, have been a part of winning teams. So I can't really consider them a huge dark horse, but they're considered. They're a third seed. But I think Denver has a great chance. Joker, what all he's done, and I think not Porter Jr., but possibly Murray may be back. They have talked about he would be very close. I don't think he was going to play today. So I don't know if he's going to play or not. It's still kind of out there. I don't know if you know anything on that. Today, the past 2 days, I'll just be honest with you, NBA was the last thing on my mind. I just kind of enjoyed my weekend because it was my birthday weekend, and you didn't tell me happy birthday, come to think about it.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I want to wish you a happy belated Kentucky birthday to you, good sir.
Actually,
are we? If I had to guess, are we going on year 36?
Yes, sir. The big 3-6. I'm getting old, very old. I'm on the downhill side of that. Oh my goodness, I'm close to 40, Matt. I've got problems, man.
That is close, but I call it 36 years young, my friend. You're not 36 years old. You're 36 years young.
I appreciate that. Let me tell you what I did today. So my buddy is like, hey, just bought a boat off my father-in-law. So it's not new, but it's new to me. So for your birthday, I want to take you fishing. Like, let's go fishing. Of course, country guy as I am. I said, sure. I get off work at 4, pick me up, and we'll go fishing. So we go fishing. I've just now literally ran home and got everything set up. I told you I was going to be a little bit late, but we ended up making it okay. So we used the boat, trolled out all the way, troll the motor. I'm sure they're going to, what a trolling motor is. And I'm coming back in from the lake, probably a half a mile into the lake, and the trolling motor dies. Well, we didn't even try to start up the big motor because it was an older boat, and we wasn't planning on using it, just going to fish kind of quick there and come on back. So we didn't even put gas in it. So we had to paddle this bass boat all the way back for about a half a mile to the dock. Happy birthday weekend to me. But you know what? I'm not going to lie. As miserable as it was always fun because we have a great time no matter what. And it was hilarious because we just made fun of each other the whole time. Everything that we do, whatever can go wrong, goes wrong. So it was just something new, and it was hilarious.
Yeah, and hey, now you got a story. Now you got a story to tell.
Exactly.
What not, whether it's what not to do while boating or
Exactly.
just a nice fishing story. Did you catch
Exactly.
anything?
Exactly. I caught two bass. Got one that got off. It was probably about 2.5. Well, I say probably 2 pounds, largemouth, but didn't make it in the boat, so we don't count. But I had him hooked. But other than that, nothing too big. My buddy, he caught 5, so he beat me. But that's okay. To me, when whoever's in the boat, they all count for everybody. So we caught 7.
Exactly.
About 2
There we
hours
go.
spent. Do
There
you like to
we
fish?
go.
When's the last time you've been fishing?
It's been a while since I last fished. But if somebody does offer me up opportunity to go fishing, I would say yeah, I'm in.
Good. What kind of fishing do you like to do?
I mean, I'd say just any kind, whether that's catching bass or trout or anything like that. Like I'd be up for it.
I like trout. Trout fishing's fun too. I'm cool with that. But anyways, back to the basketball part of this.
This is a nice big fishing show.
Yes, sir. You know what? Unwrapped bass fishing would be fun. So I'm going to go back with, I think the Nuggets are a dark horse here. They've played great without their starters, without 2 of their main players this whole year, and they've still been good. I don't know if they can upset Golden State, but I do think if somehow they were to get by Golden State, I think matchup-wise would be nice against Memphis too. Because when it comes to playoffs, it's half-court sets. It's more defensive-minded, and I just feel like Memphis is more of a run-and-gun, full-court, kind of like Milwaukee has been in the past, and I think that would actually hurt them when it comes to playoff time. So I would say Denver will be my dark horse, but I don't have too much belief in them too much. Excuse me.
I kind of like that dark horse. I will say, if I wanted to throw in another dark horse, I would also say Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks. I think you can make a clear cut case for Dallas being another one of those dark horse teams, because you look at, they've won 51 games or a 4 seed. The only downside for Dallas is if they do make a pass, whether it's Utah or Denver, you got to go up against the vaunted Phoenix Suns in round 2, and they have 64 going on to 65 wins. Like, that's going to be a tough competition. But don't sleep on Luka Doncic pushing the Suns to 6, maybe even possibly 7 games. Like they could they could go the distance. I think with the Suns they can, especially because you look at Luka Doncic. Like, no matter what game he's playing, he's always going to he's due for a big game. Like, whether that's like a 35 or a 40-piece game, like he's going to throw down one of those games. Whether it's the opener in Phoenix or whether it's in Dallas, like, you're going to see whenever Luka Doncic plays, in one game out of those best of 7, he's going to drop close to 40 or even 40 plus. Like any of those great NBA players in the league today, you're always going to see them drop a high pointage amount. Look at Giannis in Game 6 of the NBA Finals. He dropped a 50-piece in a do-or-die game. And we've seen star players perform in big moments. I think Luka Doncic is going to have a big game performance, whether that's against the Utah Jazz in a best of 7 or the Phoenix Suns. He's gonna drop a big game in either one of those series or both of those series.
I agree. And then, of course, Christian on our Colorcast guys said that the Clippers going to close out. Then you remember they're a professional choke artist. I actually think that they'll beat Minnesota and probably lose in 5. I'd say I'm going to say 6 to Minnesota. I don't think that they can – Minnesota, I said it again. I'm sorry, Memphis. I like the Clippers. And I'll tell you this before we go any further, since we're talking about this. Let me pull this up on my phone because I don't want to not talk about this today. So there was something on Twitter that popped up and said the Los Angeles Clippers clinched the 8th spot in the season while missing the following players due to injury. Leonard missed 79 games. Paul George missed 50 games. Norman Powell missed 22. Marcus Morris missed 27. And Batum missed 22. Injuries are horrible. The person went on to say excuses for not even making the play-in are just complete wrong. So the Clippers, I have to give them some props here because you've had 2 of their main guys, Leonard and Paul George, who have missed 100. Well, I'm not going to say 120 games combined because it's not that many games, but 50 and 79 games total or together each. There we go. I'm sorry. And coming from you, who is a Laker fan, all we hear about is the Lakers haven't been good because of injuries. So I want to ask you, why have the Lakers been so bad with this, but yet the Clippers were fine?
I just think it was simply you look at both of their benches. The Lakers bench is absolutely terrible.
Mm-hmm.
We never saw Kendrick Nunn play at all. A disaster signing. Trevor Ariza was pretty much washed up to the bone.
Didn't he play any?
He was hurt too. Like he was old and washed to the bone. The only really bench players who played well for the Lakers were probably Austin Reeves, Stanley Johnson, and probably eventually Dwight Howard. Like those are pretty much our only bench guys that played good, which was unacceptable. Like the way how the Lakers played was absolutely pathetic. It was probably one of the worst seasons I've ever seen out of the Lakers. I mean, I've been around for 21 years. It's probably the worst season I've ever seen them play ever. The 2013 Lakers were bad, but at least they made the playoffs as a 7 seed. The 2004 Lakers super team, they didn't win it, but they got to the finals.
Right.
This team didn't even make it to a play-in, and they're 16 to 17 games below 500. It was absolutely pathetic with how the Lakers played. And yes, you could blame Frank Vogel. Yes, you could blame Russell Westbrook, or as I would like to say, Westbrook. But it was just collectively as a team, they were just bad. LeBron didn't seem to rally the guys up. He said, keep that same energy. Well, we're keeping that same energy, and you were terrible. Like there's no way you're in year 19 averaging 29 or 30 points per game. Yeah, you can't will your team to the playoffs. How is that even possible? I know your bench was terrible, but you have to figure out a way as a leader to help lead your team to at least get to the play-in tournament. Like we're talking, and what's even hilarious, what I love about it is he trashed the play-in tournament like at the first instance. Like, why do we even need a play-in? Like, this would be ridiculous. I'm just like, you didn't even make it. Like last year, you barely survived as a 7 seed, and then this year you fall off the face of the earth. And it's one of those where the Lakers, their bench was absolutely terrible, but on the flip side, the Clippers, their bench played fantastic. Their bench did everything they could to keep this team afloat. And you look at 41 and 40, that's the definition of playing 500, keeping it level, keeping it afloat, to give the opportunity of, hey, if Paul George is healthy to play, come on in and play. Kawhi Leonard, if you're healthy and you're ready to play, come on in. We'll let you play. As long as you're cleared and ready to go, we'll let you play. We'll get you into the dance. We don't care if it's 1. We don't care if we're the 1. We don't care if we're the 8. As long as we get in, we got an opportunity. And the Clippers have set themselves up in the play-in tournament as the 8 seed to give themselves an opportunity to, hey, if we beat Minnesota, we're a 7 seed. We don't have to play the Phoenix Suns.
Right.
We got to play Memphis. Now, that doesn't discount the fact that Memphis is also a great team. But I think if you're the Clippers, you would rather play an inexperienced playoff team in Memphis than a team that just made it to the finals last year in the Phoenix Suns. If I had to choose between the two, I would rather go up against Memphis. And especially with it being a best of 7, if you start the series off hot, if you split the first 2, or at best go up 0-2, go up 2-0 in the series, you're in business.
And another team is even the third-ranked team that you talked about, your dark horse, Golden State. Clay has missed 40 games this year. Draymond has missed 30 games plus 30. Steph has missed 20 games, and Wiseman hasn't even played this year. And the Warriors still won 50 plus games. So again, injuries can't also really be an excuse.
And you also have to look at the coaching ability too. Like I don't know what Frank Vogel did this year than he did in years past, but whatever he did this year, it just did not click. Whatever he tried to do, whether it was simple rotation, certain players in certain positions, nothing seemed to work at all. And when you look at coaches who had to go through injuries, whether it's Ty Lue of the Clippers, Steve Kerr, the Golden State Warriors, they knew exactly what they were doing. They knew which guys to place in. And that's why they're at the situation to where they're in. And that's why the Lakers are outside of the playoffs with a very bleak future.
Oh, yeah. I mean, at first I didn't want to say, and I still don't want to say it too much that it's Vogel's fault. I just don't think
partially. It's partially.
Right.
He shouldn't deserve the full blame. Like if you make like a pie chart, you got to take off a quarter of it goes to Frank Vogel. You got to put another quarter of it is to Russell Westbrook. So that's 50% between the two. And then you probably got to look at, 25% the front office, 75% because they helped assemble the team. And then you got to probably fraction off another quarter, 25% to injuries. If you do like a 4 chart, it would look like that. Like if you split the blame, you got to go with the injuries. You got to go with the construction on the roster. Too many old guys, not enough youthful pieces. The other side, like I mentioned earlier, is injuries. You then got to blame the coaching staff. It's Frank Vogel. How come David Fizdale didn't really work out well like Jason Kidd did? And then you got to simply put the whole I'm giving the whole 25% just to Russell Westbrook as a whole because of the simple fact of Magic Johnson said we could have had DeMar DeRozan and Buddy Hield on this same exact roster, but instead you went after Westbrook. And that got you 0 playoff appearances, nothing. DeMar DeRozan on the Bulls got them into the playoffs as a 6th seed. Granted, they've had a lot of injuries, the Chicago Bulls have, but they were at one point a 1st seed because of DeMar DeRozan. And he was playing like an MVP candidate for the first half of the season. Like he was playing unbelievable basketball. If you had DeMar DeRozan at this level right now on the Lakers, I personally believe we could have been a top 4 seed.
Let's be honest.
If we had DeMar DeRozan.
Let's be honest though, if DeMar DeRozan was on this team, we would not have MVP DeMar because LeBron's too much of a ball. And I don't mean this of a ball hog.
Well, here's what I will say to counteract that point. If you still include the injuries, DeMar would easily have to be up there to the number 1 option. And he is the number 1 option in Chicago, and he flourished.
Right.
Obviously to start off this season, he's a 3rd option. You got LeBron, you got AD, and then him. But if you still got to consider the injuries that we had,
right,
DeMar rises up to the rankings. Maybe we'd be at least a top 4 seed, whether that's a 4 or a 5th seed. But we would at least be in the playoffs with DeMar DeRozan rather than missing the playoffs. Now, Magic Johnson, I think he gave a hot take. He said that if we had DeMar and Buddy Hield, we'd be in the Western Conference Finals. I wouldn't say that just yet. I think that's a little too far to say that you'd make it to the Western Conference Finals.
Right.
But we would at least make it to the playoffs and maybe win a playoff series if we had DeMar DeRozan or Buddy Hield. But that did not happen. The front office drank the Kool-Aid of King James and Russell Westbrook. And now they got to sit back and die on that hill because nobody is going to want that. Like, it's funny to me that there's NBA teams like the Hornets are looking to trade for Westbrook or the Pacers are looking to trade for Westbrook. And I just look at it, I was like, why? Why would you trade for him? Like what?
Yeah.
I mean, if the teams are willing to give up anything for Westbrook, I'll be like, all right, I'll take it. Go ahead.
Yeah.
If the Pacers want to offer Malcolm Brogdon and Buddy Hield, go ahead. Take it. We'll take on Brogdon. We'll take on Westbrook. We'll take on Brogdon. We'll take on Buddy Hield. I'll take them. No problem. Go ahead. We'll give you our 2027 first round pick and have no future. Go ahead. I don't care. Get Westbrook out of there. I don't care. I'll do whatever it takes.
I mean, I know we're talking more playoffs, and we've kind of went off on this talk about Lakers, which is always fine with me because we're bad mouthing them. But like,
more say truthfully speaking.
Yeah. But for anyone to trade for Westbrook right now, and no offense to you, Westbrook, it has to be a team that really doesn't have an identity that's just looking for anyone. Excuse me, that can sell tickets for them to just kind of stay relevant until they can get someone that they actually want to build a franchise with. And I don't see that because the Hornets have franchise players and they're ready to go. The only reason I could even think why they would want to trade for Russell is to say, okay, we want you to take care of our second string. And Russell Westbrook is not ready to do that. I think it's going to be another Carl, not Carl, Anthony, Carmelo Anthony, there we go, who may end up sitting out a year because he doesn't want to accept the role that he needs. Like, that's kind of, I'm going to use the word arrogance, but not that I feel that extreme about it. Mentality, let me use that word. He's at that mentality where he thinks he is a 1 through 5 player star on any team, no matter what. Now, can he be? Absolutely. He's that good of a player. But I almost think Westbrook is a 3 guard that has been a 1 his whole life and never developed a shot. He's a penetrator that is too small to be a 3, a small forward. So he's always been a guard. So I don't see this ever happening for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I absolutely. I don't see it being in Charlotte. I think if we were to do a trade offer, I would say it would have to be a team like Indiana to sell tickets. And you look at on the Indiana side of things, if you want to move on from Buddy Hield, Malcolm Brogdon, free up their contract situation, bring in Russ, who has only 1 year left. You shed off the money from them. You only got 1 year left of Westbrook, and after that 1 year, you move on. You free up a lot of cap space, and then you just embrace the Tyrese Halliburton show down in Indiana and kind of go from there. So I would say if I'm the Lakers, pay attention to, trade offers with Indiana, because I think you look at for Russ, he gets to be the number 1 guy in Indiana. He gets to move out of the shadow, because he really can't be with other all-stars, and what's crazy to me is ever since he made it to the Western Conference Finals with Kevin Durant and company back in Oklahoma City, the man never once made it past the first round. He has not made it past the first round, and now going on to 6 years. He's never made it past round 1.
Kevin Durant, with the Rockets?
Yep, not even with the Rockets. You look
really?
Okay. Yeah, so he made it. So he's missed every single second round opportunity for 6 years. KD has won 2 championships. James Harden has made it to the conference finals. Serge Ibaka has won a championship. And then there's Russ, who first round exit with the Thunder when they were a 6 seed. First round exit against the Utah Jazz when they had their big 3 of Paul George, Carmelo Anthony. And then I think they had another. They had another first round exit. He had about 3 first round exits with the Thunder before they gave up on him, moved on. He then had a first round exit with the Rockets in the bubble. No. You know what? He did make it past 1 round in the bubble with the Rockets because they made it to round 2. So never mind. He did make it past a round, but just once. Which is unacceptable, especially when you got a guy of that Westbrook caliber and you've had all those all-stars. It's just unacceptable how you failed that badly. And it's your own home city. Like LA is Westbrook's home. And you perform that badly. It's disappointing to see because you want to see Westbrook succeed. I wanted to see Westbrook to succeed so badly for this team. But it just didn't work, and you got to find a way to move on from it. And if you can't move on from it, then I guess you got to live with it for another season. And just hope that you do somewhat better because New Orleans has got your picks. You got no future. You got to find a way to win. Even if it's just like middle-of-the-road team, you got to make the playoffs. You can't be in the lottery. You just can't. You just got to figure out a way. And what I will say also for Anthony Davis, you gotta step up your health game. What you brought to the table so far after you won a championship has been borderline unacceptable. You like Charles Barkley mentioned, like he's street clothes. You're street clothes. What you're playing in street clothes is unacceptable. Like you cannot be Anthony Davis, labeled as one of the best players in the NBA, and not be on the floor. You know the best ability is availability. We need you to be available. We need, I know, some people poke fun at LeBron spending about $1.5 million on his body during the offseason, but it works.
I mean, he stays healthy.
He stays healthy for the majority of his career. You know, Anthony Davis, you got to start investing in your body, my friend, because you're our next future. LeBron's entering year 20. You can't keep relying on LeBron to be your savior. You got to step up and become the man, because if you can't become the man in LA, then New Orleans just fleeced us. Plain and simple.
Yeah. Honestly, looking at the two teams, the Pelicans have a better team now / future than the Lakers do.
Yeah,
And that's without Zion playing as much as he did this year. When they went and got out, picked up CJ, Zion with that, Brandon. I mean, this Pelican team looks like they're going to be kind of nice here in a couple of years. Plus some of these picks that they may have, and they could make a move of some sort. Pelicans could be a team worth reckoning with very soon, I think.
They absolutely could, as long as they get things right, and as long as they just stay the course, then they're going to be one of those teams.
All right, let's go to the East. We at 35 minutes. We'll try to be right under an hour tonight if you want to. So we got Miami at number 1, of course. Number 2 is Boston, which is kind of surprising because January, I don't even think they were really in much of a playoff.
No, they were. I think they were like a game below 500.
Mm-hmm. So they've definitely turned the course. Mark, who has been bad-mouthing everybody, basically deserving because we all written them off, and he proved us wrong, and the team has been phenomenal. Cleveland has kind of slacked off a little bit. They're down to the 8th seed, but it's a play-in, so you're good. But it's been finished now, so we've got the play-in with the 9 and 10 with Atlanta and Chicago, not Chicago, but Charlotte, and then the 7 and 8 is Brooklyn and Cleveland, which to me, I'm going to say Brooklyn, obviously. Well, I say obviously. I think Brooklyn wins that play-in game and will be matched up as the 7th seed against Boston for a 2-7, which would be a great matchup. I actually think Charlotte could win the first game, and then I'm going to give the other game probably to Cleveland to match up against Miami. I just think that would be interesting. I'd like for Charlotte to be in that play-in game, Series 1, just to have ball in the play-in or playoffs. I think it'd be nice just to see the Hornets in it. But honestly, the East, I think, could go to any way. Like I know you were saying earlier, Phoenix, it's a finals or bust. Eastern Conference, Miami has been the hottest team all year. They're only 2 games ahead of the 4th place Philadelphia, and they are only actually Philadelphia and Boston have the same record. Wow, I did not know that. Philly, Milwaukee, and Boston all have the same record right now, 51-31. So they're only 2 games ahead of 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place, all the top records. You know how that may go. So the Eastern Conference has been very close all year. Even Toronto, as somebody had put in the chat on Colorcast, Toronto's their dark horse. They have been hot here of lately. I would be worried if I was Philadelphia a little bit on Toronto. The Raptors have a great team, and they're clicking at the right time. So I don't know who is really the favorite to come out of the East. Do you have anyone that you say this is the favorites, or you're just going to say Miami because they're number 1? Like I want Miami to come out of the East because their defense, and I feel like their bench or their depth that they have in every position, and even their ability to guard everyone on defense with PJ Tucker and Bam Adebayo, who just checked into the protocol, so we don't know exactly what's going to go on there. But I feel like Miami is the best team, but to tell them the favorite, I can't say it. What about you?
I got one. It's the reigning, defending, undisputed champion, Milwaukee Bucks.
Okay.
I know they got obliterated by Cleveland today by about 18 points, but I think for them, it's a blessing that they're the 3rd seed. Because you got to look at it from this perspective. Yes, they have the same record as Boston and Philadelphia, but look at their matchups. Mm-hmm. Boston has to potentially go up against the Brooklyn Nets,
right?
With KD, with potentially Kyrie as well. Those 2 players, they're going to push the Celtics to the brink. I'm talking 6 to 7 games.
Oh, yeah.
The Philadelphia 76ers has a 4 seed. They got to go up against the Toronto Raptors, who in the Colorcast comment section said that's one of their team's dark horses.
Mm-hmm.
Who do the Milwaukee Bucks got to go up against? The injury-riddled Chicago Bulls as a 6th seed.
Who really was a 1 seed that just fizzled out because of injuries all the way down to the 6th seed. So, and they're still hurt. So it's almost
they'll still hurt. And you look at it, they won't have Lonzo Ball for the rest of the season, who you can make a case was the key integral part of their team. And I just look at it from that matchup of against Chicago. I think it's going to be a sweeper 5 games. I think the Bucks are clearly overpowering the Chicago Bulls. And I think for them, it was a blessing that they got a 3rd seed, because if Milwaukee was a 2 seed, it would be a tough matchup against Brooklyn, because last year they pushed them to 7. And this year obviously it's different, but that could be a series that could go 6 games. If they had a matchup against Toronto, that could easily go 6 games as well. I think Milwaukee, they are the team to beat in the East, not only because of the fact that, they're 51-31, but because they're the defending champs. Whenever there's any sort of defending NBA champions in a certain conference, whether they win it in the West or the East, you got to classify them as a team to beat, because they are still defending their throne. They are in the playoffs. They are defending their title. Doesn't matter where their seed is. They are defending that throne. The Bucks are the 3rd seed, and they have a very good chance to get back to the NBA Finals. And I'll even throw out and go as far as to say my Eastern Conference Finals prediction is going to be the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Miami Heat. I think those 2 teams are on a collision course to match up against each other once again. Now, obviously, we saw what happened last year when those 2 teams matched up. The Bucks, they swept the Heat. But I think it's going to be a close matchup between those 2 in the Eastern Conference Finals. So I'm talking it's going to go 6-7 games. And I will also look forward to whoever the Bucks play in round 2, because whoever the Bucks play in round 2, it's going to be either Boston or Brooklyn. I'm sorry, Cleveland, you're just not beating Brooklyn. It's not going to happen. There's no
not in the
way.
Play-in game.
Not in the play-in game. There's no way in Brooklyn, in the Barclays Center. There's no way. Now, if they do, I'll tip my cap to them and say, great win, Cleveland. You're now the 7th seed. Congratulations. Great job to you guys. But it's just the clear path and the clear favorite in the Eastern Conference. I think you still got to consider the Milwaukee Bucks. And then I think the second favorite team is, like you mentioned, Michael, I think it's the Heat. I think the Heat are right there. Heat culture is real. You still got their somewhat big 3, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Kyle Lowry, Tyler Hero, who's well on his way to win 6th Man of the Year with how tremendous he's turned into this year. And, this whole entire playoffs, I think if you look at between both conferences, is going to be very exciting to watch. You're going to have some very exciting playoff matches to watch for. And also even storylines too. Like, look at the Philadelphia 76ers and their storyline. 51-31, 4th seed, going up against the Toronto Raptors. And there was recently a notification that was just posted out today. So Matisse Thybulle for the Philadelphia 76ers, due to Canada's vaccine status with what they have over there, Matisse Thybulle is ineligible to play games 3 and 4 due to it being in Toronto. So
really?
So you look at because of that situation, it's going to be interesting to see how Philadelphia handles those first 2 games. Because Philadelphia, they're the home team. So obviously in a 7-game series, you're going to get 4 home games if it goes that far. But you got to think, if the Sixers are down, whether it's tied at 1 or down 0-2 heading to Toronto, and they're not going to have Matisse Thybulle, they're in big trouble. But if they could find a way to win both home games in Philadelphia, they can rest assured and be like, all right, just win one game in Toronto. We're up 3-1, and we head back home to close it out. Now, obviously, who knows how the rest of the series will turn out, but because of their Canada strict protocols, Matisse Thybulle cannot play games 3 and 4, which are very important series in the games. A lot of people look at games 3 and 4 and say those games decide the series. The first two games are kind of meh. Like, all right, you win game 1, but if somebody wins game 2, bam, it's 1-1. It's like we're back to 0. But games 3 and 4, those are the real deal breakers to where it separates a team, from winning. Because if you're up 2-0, you win game 3, that series is pretty much a wrap. Unless if you're the 2004 Yankees, then you couldn't close that out. But, if you're down 0-2 and you win game 3, all right, we're out. We're back in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's cut in half. All we got to do is win game 4, and bam, we're at a 2-2 series. So, like, Matisse Thybulle missing games 3 and 4. Those are very, very important games that he's going to miss out. And there's nothing he could do. It was his own decision to do what he does.
Right.
It's just absolutely brutal for Philadelphia, because now that you're a 4 seed, you better win those 2 home games for Philadelphia, because if you're split or you go down 0-2 heading to Toronto,
You're done.
it's going to be trouble for Philadelphia if they can't get it done there. And then just also throughout, like, it's going to be exciting. Like, I'm even excited to see like the play-in tournaments, between Atlanta and Charlotte. I personally think, I know you think that Cleveland could get to the 8 seed. I think Atlanta could be a potential team that can make it to the 8 seed with Trae Young and company.
Mm-hmm.
You give me one game. You give me one game that you got to play. I love my odds with Trae Young. I think you take care of business against Charlotte, and whether he has to play Brooklyn or Cleveland, I like those odds there. Now, I think it's going to be Cleveland, but you also have to look at it with some of these teams that are in the play-in. No matter how far they go, I think it's a success. I think you look at Cleveland. I know Cleveland, they're an 8 seed right now. Mm-hmm. Even if they lose both of their playing games, you kind of have to look at Cleveland's season as a success, because nobody really thought that Cleveland could be one of those teams to where early in the season they were like a 3rd seed. Nobody really saw that coming from them, but they have a bright future to build from. They got good young pieces, and they're only going to get better. Same thing even you could possibly say with Atlanta or Charlotte. Obviously, Atlanta last year made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, pushed the Bucks to 6 games. You go through the play-in, you're only getting more experience. Same thing with Charlotte. You made the play-in last year, you make it again this year, you win 43 games, you're only going to get better. The only team where you could say has a lot of pressure in the play-in tournament is the Brooklyn Nets. That's only because you got KD and Kyrie. You got KD and Kyrie, and if Brooklyn somehow, some way loses both playing games and they miss the playoffs, there's going to be some changes to Brooklyn. Now, you and I both don't see anything happening there. We both think that, and a lot of people think that Brooklyn is going to take care of business, whether it's against Cleveland or Atlanta or Charlotte. They're for sure going to make it, whether as a 7 or 8 seed. But if they don't, man, oh man, is it going to be hilarious, because before the season started, before it all started in October, the betting favorites were the Lakers and the Nets. And how funny would it be if both of those betting favorites don't even make it to the playoffs?
Yeah.
Like that would be Vegas being like, aha, thank you for your free money. Thank you very much.
Pretty much.
Thank you. Like anybody who betted on the Lakers to win the title this year, thank you for your money. Thank you. We appreciate it.
And I mean, honestly, well, let me just say it this way. If the Brooklyn Nets don't make it to the first round because they lose 2 games in the play-in games here, Nash has to be fired.
Yeah, I could. It's hard. So. It's hard for me to say that, because this is only his 2nd year ever as a head coach, so it would be kind of hard for me.
That's why I think he should be fired, though, because he has no experience, nothing. Like when he was hired,
who are you going to replace him with? You could fire Nash, but who are you going to get to help fill in those shoes? I mean, unless if you find a way to somehow get like Mike D'Antoni or somewhere in there, but I just don't see it. The only coach who's in his 2nd year with the team that I could see being fired is Doc Rivers. That's because Doc Rivers. That's because, but Coach K isn't going to the NBA. He's
retired. I'm messing with you, man. He's not going to the NBA. Yeah. Although I'll say this, and I'm halfway serious about it. If Kentucky had a bad season like 2 years in a row, I would almost say Coach Cal could possibly go to the NBA on a team like this. Coach Calipari, because us Kentucky fans, we kind of hating on him a little bit right now. Like, if this was 2 years in a row and this was, who did I just say? Nash in the hot seat, all of a sudden inspired, I think Calipari might be on that list of coaches to be interviewed. But
Yeah, and also it wouldn't make sense for Coach K to go in the NBA because the man is 75 years old. Like the man, the man is 75. Like I think when you're
No, he needs
75,
retired and relax.
when you're 75 years old, I think you could call it a career and go off into the sunset. Yeah, same thing even with guys like like a Saban or like a Roy Williams if they went up there. When you're around like in your 70s, you don't need to go up another step. You could just you could just chill out at your house. Go to Florida, relax, and just rest easy.
All right, Matt, I'm going to ask you this, and we're almost to the hour mark, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this on up because I got to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm already yawning. So, play-in games, because next week, I don't know exactly where we'll be. I think play-in games will be done. Who you got going in as the 8th and 7th seeds on both sides?
Ooh, 8th and 7th seeds. Now, it's gonna be interesting to see here. I'll even throw out some dates for the play-in. So the play-in tournaments, the dates are this: on Tuesday, April 12th at 7 o'clock Eastern. We got the Cavs and the Nets at the Barclays Center, and we got Clippers and Timberwolves on Tuesday. Between those two games, I got the Brooklyn Nets over the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think Brooklyn gets the 7th seed in the Eastern Conference.
I agree.
In the Western Conference, I think the 7th seed is going to be the LA Clippers. I know it's in Minnesota, but I would rather have Ty Lue and the Clippers because they got more playoff experience. Give me the Clippers and the Nets as my 7th seed in the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference. On Wednesday,
I'm going to take Minnesota.
Okay.
I want to say Clippers, but I want to also say Minnesota. I just feel like Minnesota. Have no reason. Just my gut says Minnesota.
I like the sound of that. And then, do you also agree with the Nets taking care of business against the Cavaliers?
Yeah.
Alrighty. And then on Wednesday, April 13th, we got the Charlotte Hornets and the Atlanta Hawks. Winner survives another day to get to the 8th seed. Loser goes home. I personally got the Atlanta Hawks. It's in Atlanta. The State Farm Arena is going to be rocking. I think Trae Young is going to go off and have one of those great games. Give me Atlanta to live another day and advance to a possibility to get to an 8th seed.
My heart wants to say Charlotte just because I love the Hornets. So I am going to say Atlanta.
All right. And then we got the San Antonio Spurs playing the New Orleans Pelicans in New Orleans on the same Wednesday, but this time at 9:30 Eastern. That's a matchup to where I'm looking forward to see how both those teams look between the Spurs and the Pelicans. If I had to choose a team to win, I think I'm going with the Spurs just because of Greg Popovich. I think because Greg Popovich is such a great coach, and which I think in my humble opinion, I think this is Greg Popovich's final season. He hasn't announced any sort of retirement yet. This is just me throwing out like a prediction. But I think at his age, at this rate, I think this could be it. I think he's going to go out there, and I think he's going to find a way to get his team to advance to the following day. And then I believe on Friday, on Friday, April 15th is going to be like the play-in games to see who gets the 8th seed.
Okay.
Whether that is, and then after that, it would be Cavaliers versus Atlanta. I think Atlanta takes care of business and gets the 8th seed there. Who do you think would be the 8th seed between those two teams?
I'm going to go with Cleveland on that one. I just want to be different. I think Cleveland deserves it.
All right, so in the Eastern Conference, you guys heard it here first. I got the Brooklyn Nets and the Atlanta Hawks. Michael has the Brooklyn Nets and the Cleveland Cavaliers. No. Or some people might say, no, you can't say Chavaliers. It's just Cavaliers. And then in the Western Conference, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves versus the San Antonio Spurs. For me, I got the Spurs. What I believe is going to happen between the Timberwolves and the Spurs, I think Minnesota is going to beat the Spurs. I think Anthony Edwards is going to have a great game. I think give me the Minnesota Timberwolves as the 8th seed, and my two teams as the 7 and 8 in the West is going to be the Clippers and the Timberwolves. I want to hear who you have, Michael. Do you also have the Spurs beating the Pelicans, or do you think it's going to be New Orleans?
Well, I am going to go with the Pelicans beating the Spurs, and then I'm going to go with the Clippers beating the Pelicans as the 8th seed. So I have the same, but I'm going to go Minnesota 7, Clippers 8.
Ooh, okay. Hey, those are going to be interesting predictions. It's going to be very exciting. I personally think with these playing tournaments, I don't think you go wrong with any matchup.
You really can.
I mean, you look at. I don't think you could go wrong with Boston going up against Cleveland or Brooklyn. You can't go wrong there, because it's going to be a good series either way. And then for the Miami side of things, you can't go wrong with either going up against Brooklyn or Cleveland or Atlanta and Charlotte. Like you can't go wrong with either one of those. Same thing even on the flip side between Phoenix and Memphis. For Memphis, you can't go wrong going up against Minnesota or the Clippers. It's going to be a great series between either one of those two teams. Whether you want to see Ja Morant versus Anthony Edwards, or you want to see the Ja Morant-led Grizzlies go up against a veteran experienced Clippers. And then on the flip side of things for the Phoenix Suns, whether it's Devin Booker and company versus Anthony Edwards or versus Kawhi Leonard or versus the Clippers and their experienced group, or you get to see the New Orleans Pelicans, or you get to see the great old Greg Popovich versus Monty Williams, two great NBA head coaches. You really can't go wrong with either one of these playoff matchups. It's going to be It's going to be an exciting playoffs when April 16th. All I know is when April 16th comes around, I hope we're able to stream one of those playoff games because it is going to be exciting to watch. These best of 7 series, all of these teams going at it because it's going to be a dogfight to see who wins a championship.
Absolutely.
Because you got a lot of great teams. You got Phoenix, you got Miami, you got Milwaukee. I know for sure Mark is going to be talking all up on the Boston Celtics, so we're going to be looking forward to that one. And one thing I will say to close us out, how funny would it be, Michael, if just 2 years ago when the Lakers tied the Celtics at 17, if the Celtics win it this year and make it 18?
Yeah.
How incredible would that be? Knowing that
with the Lakers not even
not even being in the playoffs, not even having an opportunity, and the Celtics get championship number 18. That would be the ultimate cherry on top, and we would not hear the end of Mark in the basketball chat. He would go anywhere.
And he deserved it too.
He so would. There would be nothing, whether it's me being a Lakers fan, Perry or Christian, anybody. We couldn't have anything because at least we could say like, we both got 17 championships. What are you going to do? Well, if he got 18 is greater than 17.
That's right.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be exciting playoffs, and we'll see what happens with this play-in tournament. But by the time April 16th comes around, I can't wait to see those full sellout crowds. And who knows? Maybe if the time is right and if the price is right, maybe I might try to hit up a Dallas playoff game. Maybe if the timing is right and the price is right, who knows? I'm only 2.5, 3 hours away from Dallas. Why not? Like that would be cool to see Luka Doncic in the playoffs.
Yeah, man, that'd be awesome.
But it is a big if though. Like the biggest if of all time.
Yeah, that'd probably be a pricey seat. But, Matt, tell everybody where they can find you at.
Well, they can find me down below here. My Twitter is at Matt_Skura. Instagram at Matt_Skura21. Check out both of those links in the bio. It has my sports podcast that me and my great friend Caleb Conant do called MCS Real Sports Podcast. We talk all things NBA and NFL related. You name it, it's available everywhere. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, iHeartRadio. It's available everywhere. Go check it out. As always, Michael, it is a pleasure to be on Count the Bucket, and I'm very excited for this NBA postseason because it is coming just around the corner next week.
Yes, sir. And you can find me MD Lawson00 on pretty much any social media platforms whatsoever. link in bio that has all my link tree in with everything. You can also follow us at Count Bucket USN, as I have here on the screen, or as our watching a play there. That was tough. Also, check us out on Colorcast, YouTube, the whole 9 yards and all that with Unwrapped Sports Network, of course. And then also I co-host a show with my buddy Connie, as you guys have seen on so many different shows with Unwrapped Sports Network. It is Backstop Banter, Thursday night at 9 p.m., sometimes 10 p.m. It just depends on if my work schedule allows me to come home a little bit early. But, guys, once again, thank you all so much for tuning in. Next week, hopefully, we will be able to come back and tell you our predictions were right or wrong, and then we'll go on from there for the first round and see where we're at. Until then, guys and gals, here I'm doing it again. Everybody, you all have a great night.